Now let us talk about Selenium. What is Selenium and why we need it and when we need to use Selenium? In simple terms, Selenium is test automation framework for web application testing. Since most of the applications we develop are web-based applications, there is a high demand for automating the web applications, both internal to the company or external, like public-facing websites. This simple diagram can give you some idea. So Selenium is a framework to test web applications by definition. So if this is the browser and the application runs inside the browser, Selenium WebDriver provides certain APIs, application programming interface, like already developed code, how to interact with the browser and UI elements inside the browser. Basically, this is the username password, a text box which takes the username, and another text box which takes the password, a submit button and a clear button, right? And this is the URL. So the Selenium WebDriver out of the box has APIs which we can use to interact with the browser and also the elements inside the browser. It doesn't care what kind of application you're running. So if you are developing a travel portal, yes, you can use the APIs to open up the browser and interact with the elements on the browser which are relevant to your application. If you want to automate the process of sign-in, you need to open up the browser and use the APIs to enter the value to the username field, value into the password field, and click on the submit button using the program. So which we will be seeing more in detail as we go into the coding part. To give you a high-level idea, Selenium WebDriver is a framework which we can readily use to interact with the browser and UI elements. Coming back down here, you have a choice of using different languages. This is a choice you have to make at the very beginning. Typically, we don't switch between what programming language we want to use once we start test development. So we have to make a choice in the early stage itself if you want to use Java as your programming language for test development. The other choices are Python and Ruby. So if you want to use Java as your test development language, then you will download Selenium WebDriver for Java and start coding it. So why Selenium? Why not other products? So it is a choice to be made. It's a decision that to be made on different factors. But why Selenium has become the most popular web automation framework is, one, it has been the largest user group support and it is open source, which means it doesn't have any royalty to pay if you use Selenium for your test development. And open source and user base. When I say user base, not the users as a test development, but more like a developers who contributes to the code of developing the WebDriver, enhancing the WebDriver. And number three, it has become a de facto standard for web application testing. So it's standard across the industry by all Fortune 500 companies to use Selenium in one way or other in their web development testing efforts. And one of the biggest development in the recent times is Selenium has been going through W3C specification, which is a standard across for HTML, CSS, JavaScript to be supported by different browser vendors. So if this specification finalizes, all of the browsers should support Selenium, which is the biggest advantage for Selenium WebDriver and its developers, so that it will become a standard across all of the browsers. Typically, as a test developer, you will run into issues dealing with different browsers with the code. Let us say I develop this code to test the username password screen right here, and it will work perfectly in Chrome. And if I want to test the same in a different browser, let us say IE, it will run into issues. And if I test it in Firefox, it partially works. And if I run in Microsoft Edge, it will have some other issues. So once it become a final approval approved for W3C, all of these browsers, vendors, Microsoft here, Mozilla, and Google should support Selenium once it becomes a standard. That will be a biggest celebration for test developers. There is one less thing to worry with the browser compatibility. To sum up this lesson, Selenium WebDriver is a framework to test browser-based applications. We have a choice to use different programming languages to develop our tests. Primarily, Selenium WebDriver helps to interact with the browser and UI elements, user interface elements inside the browser. With this, I conclude this lesson. You may now move on to the next one. Thank you.